Hey, 42 here. In 1878, Charles Darwin's cousin, explorer, inventor, and polymath Sir Francis Galton discovered a new technique to combine portraits to create a composite image, an average face. What he discovered was that whenever you average people's faces to create a new face, the resulting composite face is always beautiful. He thus concluded that as humans we find averages beautiful. We dislike extremes, anomalies and oddities. Sir Francis Galton deduced that facial symmetry as well as averageness both contribute to beauty. Around the same time that Sir Francis Galton published his research, a Polish businessman by the name of Maximilian Faktorowicz took immense interest in what Galton had to say about beauty. Galton's findings inspired Maximilian to create a strange device which he called the beauty micrometer. Its purpose was to measure a woman's face and check for averageness and symmetry. It was able to pick up on minor structural flaws that were barely noticeable to the human eye. Women flocked in their droves, mostly from the film industry, to try out Maximilian's new device. Conveniently, he also happened to produce and sell a range of beauty-enhancing products to fix the so-called imperfections that the beauty micrometer picked up on. He named these products makeup. So successful was his range of makeup that he started a company named after himself. Maximilian Faktorowicz, Max Factor, which, as you all know, would become one of the largest makeup brands in the world. But this raises a poignant question. Why do we find symmetry and averageness to be beautiful? Why aren't quirky, odd and disfigured faces considered beautiful by most people? Researchers have long thought that the reason for this is that imperfect, asymmetrical faces can indicate that potential mates have an ailment or a disease. And so, the laws of sexual selection dictate that we are predisposed to choose not to mate with such people because they may produce unfavourable offspring. Although this is not a very nice theory, it does make sense. After all, it's true that various diseases we can have as children do leave permanent scars and physical disfigurements on your face and body in some cases, albeit less so today with modern medicine. But if this were true, wouldn't so-called ugliness and physical imperfections have died out long ago through sexual selection? Kind of like a natural eugenics? Well, there must be more to this beauty thing than wanting to avoid disease and genetic disorders. Also, today with modern medicine, illnesses we have as children, such as chickenpox, rarely leave any permanent physical marks on our faces, as they would have done so in our hunter-gatherer days. The answer to why we find symmetrical faces so beautiful could in fact be so simple, it's almost beautiful. Some scientists think it's simply because humans find beauty in all things symmetrical in nature. Symmetry represents order, calmness, and certainty. It is the opposite of chaos, so seeing symmetry, whether it's in nature or a significant other's face, makes us feel calm and content. Be it the wings of a butterfly, the orderly leaves of a plant, or the gentle ripples in a pond, all these sights bring us peace. The same chemical reactions that cause these feelings of content could also be triggered by the symmetry in a person's face. But beauty can also be found in learning new skills, and nowhere else more so than Skillshare. Skillshare is an online learning community with thousands of classes that enable you to achieve true beauty in your work. Whether your thing is photography, art, design, or something else, Skillshare has an online course taught by an expert to help you become great at what you do or what you want to do. Premium membership gives you unlimited access to high quality classes on must-know topics so you can improve your skills, unlock new opportunities, and just do the work you love. If you're passionate about photography, I highly recommend checking out the Skillshare course, Documentary Photography, Capturing Places and People. You'll learn all the techniques and skills you need to artfully capture the beauty around you and in the places you visit. Skillshare is also more affordable than most learning platforms. An annual subscription is less than $10 a month. And since Skillshare is sponsoring this video, the first 1,000 people to use the promo link in the description will get their first 2 months for only 99 cents. But can beauty be measured? Like we measure intelligence? Turns out, yes. Believe it or not, there is a unit of measurement for beauty. It's called a Helen. The more beautiful you are, the more Helens you possess. No, I've not gone crazy. Again, I forgot to mention that it's meant as a joke, coined by Cambridge mathematician W.A.H. Rushton. It comes from the fact that people would write that Helen of Troy was so beautiful that she had, quote unquote, a face that launched 1,000 ships. And so, the more Helens a person has, the more likely their beauty is to inspire actions in others, such as waging war on one's behalf. There are also milli-Helens, for situations when someone is so darn ugly that they are simply not deserving of one full Helen. According to the Oxford English Dictionary, beauty is defined as a combination of qualities such as shape, colour or form that pleases the aesthetic senses, especially the sight. Now, this suggests that beauty is subjective, and since we are all unique and we all find pleasure in different ways, it is true that beauty must be in the eyes of the beholder. So then maybe perfect symmetry, averageness and physical proportions to set norms aren't true beauty. Well, this of course depends on your point of view, but the Japanese have a novel way of approaching the idea of beauty that I personally find rather appealing indeed. They call it WabiSabi. WabiSabi is the appreciation and natural beauty found within imperfections. This isn't just another ancient Eastern tradition that is mostly ignored by modern society. WabiSabi is deeply ingrained within modern Japanese culture. It's even taught in schools. Writer Leonard Cohen wrote that WabiSabi is the most conspicuous and characteristic feature of traditional Japanese beauty, and it occupies roughly the same position in the Japanese pantheon of aesthetic values as do the Greek ideals of beauty and perfection in the West. WabiSabi is loving that mole on your partner's cheek. It is appreciating the way that crooked old tree warps and twists in its eternal struggle against gravity. It is loving the curves, bumps, and oddities of a person's body, and finding beauty in the way that cracks meander through your favourite architectural monoliths. The famous Zen garden in northwest Kyoto contains 15 stones that are placed in such a way that no matter what angle you look at them from on the ground, you can only ever see 14 stones. The 15th is always just out of sight, thus symbolising WabiSabi. No matter how you see the garden, it is never complete, never perfect. The idea of WabiSabi comes from Buddhism, but it truly originated from Japanese tea ceremonies, as people would favour unique, handcrafted cups and tea-making apparatus that had imperfections and unique marks from their maker's hands over perfect ornate crockery, which is only intended to show off. WabiSabi is a deeply complex ideal and a way of living that cannot be fully explained using the English language. But it's a refreshingly beautiful take on beauty, compared to the obsession of striving for perfection and symmetry that is often promoted in the West. Speaking of perfection, it turns out that it's not all it's cracked up to be. A study on catwalk models discovered that the more symmetrical and technically perfect a model's face is, the more likely they are to have low self-esteem and generally have a lower well-being than average. Other researchers conducted at City University in London found that people who make a living from their looks, such as catwalk and catalogue models, were more suspicious, non-conforming, intensely emotional, interpersonally alienated, eccentric and self-centered. But it turns out that there are also considerable benefits to what society would call beautiful. These studies also mentioned that more physically attractive people are considerably more likely to be hired and to be promoted. On average, attractive individuals earn higher salaries. They are also more confident. It's thought that this is because they put themselves out there more often and have thus had more experience at making conversation and socializing. However, vanity and striving for perfection can be dangerous and lead you into a pit of misery. A recent study by London-based Royal Society of Public Health found that Instagram is the worst social network for mental health. Researchers found that a desire to take perfect, sugar-coated images of one's own life in an attempt to gain likes, followers, and keep up with one's peers only increased mental issues such as depression, anxiety, and feelings of FOMO, a fear of missing out. Interestingly, this study found YouTube to be the most positive social network on the internet, being the only social network in existence that scored positive marks for mental health. So that's good. I've talked in past videos about how damaging social media to the mental health of young people today truly is. But this recent study showed how it's the way that Instagram and other sites like Facebook only show the very best of other people's lives that is so mentally damaging. When all we see is our friends' edited and cherry-picked photos on holiday or having a good time with their friends, it makes us feel self-contempt, like we are missing out on life. Some people may compensate by manufacturing their own scenarios so that they can post pictures on Instagram that make their own lives appear better than they are to try and rival their friends, which is always a futile and empty pursuit, only adding fuel to this vicious cycle. The study also found that the worst affected are women. Seeing airbrushed images of other women on Instagram with perfect bodies, hair and makeup makes women feel inadequate, as if their bodies and looks aren't as good as their peers. Instagram may seem harmless on the surface, and sure it can be and is used harmlessly by many people. But sadly for many other people, it's just a mechanism for them to put a filter on their own life and show it off to the world. Hey, I'm not judging. We're all guilty, myself included. But next time you're obsessing over how perfectly you can filter and showcase your figure, your holiday snaps, or just your lunch on Instagram or Facebook, maybe you should just take a moment to indulge in some WabiSabi and instead put your phone down and appreciate the subtleties and beautiful imperfections of the world around you. The leaves on the ground, the landscape, the insightful, interesting conversation of the people around you. For true beauty is not what you see or what you strive to be, but it is the fantastical wonder and the greatness of life which you experience every day, and equally so, that which you give to others. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, then please click here to support me on Patreon. Also, I'd like to thank Skillshare once again for sponsoring this video. Don't forget to check them out by using the promo link in the description to really help out the channel and learn some great new skills for yourself.